Can I get secondhand snoop? All right, perfect. I'm gonna start in about 1 minute or so. Glad to see you guys all online and working today. Mhm. Good morning. Okay. All right. 10:03. We'll start getting going. I know some people are gonna trickle in um little by little as we go on, which is fine. Good morning. Hope you all are having a beautiful Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Glad to have you all on. Let me pull up my notes here. Not too much in the way of news last week, besides CPI and PPI, which is Consumer Price Index and Producer Price Index. CPI showed inflation rose 0.3% in December, and the year-over-year number increased to 3.4%. The core rate, which strips out energy and food prices, also increased 0.3%, but it declined year over year from 4% to 3.9%. Um, you guys know that inflation is one of the huge drivers to higher mortgage rates. So this has been an important number for us throughout the last couple of years, as well as now jobs. The good thing is that the core CPI, core producer price index or consumer price index, did decrease down to the threes, and that actually helped on Thursday. Rates went really, really well on Thursday, and even leaning into Friday with the producer price index report. Shelter costs, which make up 44% of the core index, they rose 0.5%. But they have been cooling, and shelter is at 6.2%, down from the 6.5% year over year. Rents are also down to 6.5% from 6.9% in the previous report. Rent increases should show better numbers around March or April as the real-time figures have cooled significantly, but it does take time for those numbers to actually show up on the report because rents are usually based off of 12-month leases, right? So if you got a lease last year in January, the new rent is not going to show up on for you until the following January, right? This is why kind of shelter costs don't all come down at once because everybody has a lease that starts at a different time. What's interesting though is even with the rise of CPI month over month, we did see rates come down, like I mentioned, significantly on Thursday. A couple of reasons why core lowered, even though it was a bit higher than expectations. We hit the number three after being above it for so long. And then shelter costs as well. They're coming down again month over month. So inflation, when you look into it, still shows like it's leveling out and getting much, much better as time goes on, which we kind of figured. Remember that inflation is based off of 12-month time frames. It's not like it's based off of the last 4 years, right? Because if that was the case, we'd still see very, very high numbers. But it's basically based off of last year's December in this report. The next one from February will be based off of last January when things have already kind of slowed down, when the Fed was already in the middle of raising their Fed funds rate. So that number ultimately is going to end up getting better as time goes on. And we'll continue to see rates kind of come down. It was a really, really good day. I think we're very close to the 5.5% coupon. I'll double check now. PPI, which is producer price index, showed wholesale inflation fell 0.1% in December. Now at 1% year over year.
Take the extra step of having.
We're now at 1% year over year. For the producer price index, and this should actually help the PCE report we'll be getting next week. So just a kind of a quick rundown for those of you that don't know, the consumer price index is what measures the the value of goods month over month or year over year. Producer price index measures the level of goods on the wholesale side, month over year. PCE, personal consumption expenditure, which is the one that the Fed watches the most, is what people actually are spending month over month. So it's different, right? CPI is basically measuring the actual costs fluctuating, and PCE is what people are actually spending on those goods and services. CoreLogic did report home prices rose 0.2% in November, and they were up 5.2% year over year. So based off of their home price estimates or based off of their home price rises, we'll probably see the year end be at about 7% year over year for December once that report comes in, which is great. Usually, you guys have heard me say this, average appreciation year over year is usually 3 to 5%. So for us to still be above that with how high rates were really goes to show what these next couple of years are going to bring for us moving forward. Lastly, mortgage apps, mortgage applications. So last year, when we first started Money Mortgage Minute, I think was 2022, we spoke a lot about mortgage apps at that time. Last year, we didn't speak too much of it because of the uncertainty in the market. We'll start bringing this back in because the Mortgage Bankers Association does believe we'll see a 20% increase in production this year. And mortgage apps give us good weekly data to see where we stand week over week, and even from the prior year as well. Purchase applications rose 6%, and they're currently down 16% from this time last year. Refinances are up 30% from last year and increased 19% from the previous week. A lot of people are looking to tap into their equity to either consolidate debt or purchase a new home. So we're seeing refinances pretty much skyrocket here. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. We are seeing refinances up 30% from last year, like I mentioned, and that's because a lot of people are trying to tap into their equity, either purchase a new home or consolidate debt. We are seeing it. A lot of debt is weighing down on people. I see it when I pull applications every single day. You guys probably feel it within your own personal finances and things like that. So this is a good time to either tap into your equity. Another option that people don't think about that could also help you is if you do have a 401k, you can usually get a loan against it, and it doesn't have to be specific to purchasing a home, which is what I'm telling clients as well. Couple benefits is you're going to pay it back. You're going to pay it through your monthly or through your pay stubs. Whenever you get paid, either monthly, biweekly, weekly, whatever the case is, it gets automatically taken out from your pay stub. So you don't see it taken out of your account, one. And two, it doesn't show up on your credit report. So if you need to take out money to pay down any debt, don't want to necessarily do a cash out. And this is really good. I'm telling clients to do this that don't have the exact credit. Because here's another thing is, if you have very, very high debt and you're barely getting by and your credit limit is increased, usually that shoots down your credit. For HELOCs and HELoans, those credit minimums are usually 660, 680. And if you have a lot of debt, you may be at 600, 620, 640. Even if you have, perfect payment period, it just is what it is. So if you've got a 401k that you've been building over time, you can tap into it if you need to kind of consolidate that debt, or you can tap into that to be able to purchase your next home or vice versa. But that's something that I'm telling clients to do as well, to look into that option if they have it, because that helps them, doesn't affect their credit score. They're basically paying themselves back, right? So you're not borrowing if you're doing a HELoan or a HELOC, you're probably borrowing against 11, 12%. On the HELOC, it's interest only. If you're trying to do a personal loan and you think that's a good option, you're probably borrowing at 15% APR or something like that, where on your 401k, when you borrow against it, you may be borrowing at a 7, 8, 9% interest rate, but guess what? It's your money. You're literally borrowing against yourself. So you're paying yourself interest for borrowing against your own money, but you're also paying down the debt that you have. So just something that I've kind of brought up to clients recently, especially the ones that can't necessarily do a HELOC or HE loan, and really may not make sense for them to do a cash out. Sometimes it does make sense for you to do it. Sometimes it may not. Just really depends on your scenario. If you have a very, very low interest rate, two in the low 2s to 3%. You guys have heard me talk about the blended rate. Maybe your rate is actually at 8-9% when you factor in your credit cards and stuff like that. Then it may make a little bit more sense for you. Tax season starting very, 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 very soon. If you guys have borrowers that are self-employed, make sure that they start applying before they file their taxes. Very, very important. Before they file their taxes. If you got people on the fence, if you got self-employed people, if you want to make some social media content, make sure that you get with people and you say, if you are self-employed, 1099 or own a business, and you want to purchase this year, get with me first, meaning you guys, before you do anything, so I can tell you exactly what you need to do. Because a lot of people, similar to real estate agents, there's a lot of people that are tax preparers and not CPAs, okay? And they don't know what they're doing when they're filing your client's taxes. And you guys will probably know a little bit more than they do. And we're going to do a class on that very, very soon about the Schedule E and about the 1099 and about regular business tax returns, so that you guys can see where you need to file and what you need to file in order to be able to save money on taxes, but also help yourself when you're being able to purchase a home. But it's very important that you tell them to get with you first, because if they go to self-report on H&R Block or TurboTax or something like that, they're going to make a mistake on their taxes. I've seen it throughout the years. Or if they go to somebody that has a sign in the street that says, I'll do your taxes for $200, that person is just going to write off and get that person as much money, or you get your client as much money back as possible, but also mess them up for being able to prepare to purchase a home, or not give them as much money back as possible, but force them to pay the least amount of money in taxes as possible, and that hurts them too. Okay, so just make sure that you're getting in front of your clients and you're letting them know. Get with you first. Talk about how you're going to do the taxes, because usually in the beginning of the year is the best time to either to do, obviously, not only to get your taxes done correctly for the previous year, but if you need to amend the previous year's taxes, you can do it all in one shot. And then that way, when you send in both of your taxes, they both get looked at the same time. Lastly, condo financing. So, and I feel like I'm getting more gray hairs when it comes to financing condos. But I think we're just gonna continue to see more condo financing as time goes on, as the years goes on. So for those of you that don't know, condos are in the middle of a shift right now, and a lot of condos are basically behind the 8 ball when it comes to making sure that they need to do the correct things that are not only state mandated or state regulated, but also Fannie Mae mandated and Fannie Mae regulated when it comes down to their insurance policies, when it comes down to their budgets, when it comes down to their inspections that they need to be getting done, their 40-year recertifications, their 50-year recertifications. What happens is on those recertifications, and I think I spoke about this last week, right? They're finding things and they're not able to, and they either need to put a special assessment to collect more money from the unit owners, or increase the association, or increase the association dues for the unit owners in general. And so I actually heard a story last week from the building loan officer that had a client that closed, and he closed at $200 something association dues. And a year later, now in the beginning of this year, those association dues are going up to about $698 a month. So you guys have a good in when it comes to being able to list properties here on both sides of things, on the good condos and on the bad condos. On the bad condos, people are not going to be able to afford those association dues. They're going to become delinquent on their association and may be forced to sell, or maybe forced to look into the county for options to be able to help, or for the county to be able to help them with association dues, which is very possible, especially in Miami-Dade, right? but you are going to be able to list more condos most probably this year and next year because a lot of people are just going to be trying to sell. And when you have a condo that's not in good standing, there's really only two ways to sell it: cash or non-warrantable, meaning a private loan, 25% down usually, depending on the purchase price, depending on the client's credit. They do non-warrantable condos, which are non-conventional at as low as 10%, but it really depends, right? I usually tell people you can technically get as low as 10%, but most of the time you're going to end up at 25% down on these non-warrantables. There is no second mortgage that gets attached to most of these, especially on a non-warrantable condo. So to sell those or to get them off sold is going to be much more difficult because you're lowering the buyer pool that you're going to have. On other condos, which is what I'm going to empower you guys with probably by the end of this week. Okay. I'm working on, because myself, and I'll tell you guys, my experience, it's becoming, financing a condo conventional, Fannie Mae, is becoming just as hard as if we were just to do this, if we were just trying to do this FHA. It's that difficult of a process now because of all the guidelines that Fannie Mae is pretty much putting upon the lender to be able to verify. Now, Fannie Mae, like I've told you guys, they do have a condo approved, or they do have a condo portal with all the approved condos in Florida. The problem is I cannot pull a PDF from it at all. I can't pull the list. It does not let me. All the links are clickable. I've showed you guys the website in the past when we were doing the condo stuff recently. But what we're doing is we're starting in Broward. Okay, we're going city by city in Broward County, and we're literally making an Excel sheet of all the approved condos and when they expire. And I'm going to send them over to all of you guys specifically, so that way you guys know when you are looking to do listings, what condos you can attack, and know that you're going to have a much easier process kind of moving forward as you list it. But also when you have buyers, which condos you can go to, and you know that their stuff is in order. So if a condo is on the Fannie Mae approved list, I do not need a questionnaire. I do not need a budget. The only thing that I need is the master insurance policy, which could still be a deal killer, but it's only one item as opposed to 3, 4, 5, 6 that I'm going to need if I'm trying to do a regular condo approval that's not Fannie Mae approved, which we've tried. Okay. And you find out things about the condo when it comes to violations that they have with the municipalities, when it comes to their recertification not being fully done or anything like that. So if you guys have that Fannie Mae approved list handy while you're looking for condos for your client, if your client likes it, you can go ahead, search the Excel to see if that condo's on there. If it's not on there, it means that you either have to do a full review or it's on the unavailable list, which we can check for you at that time. But at least you can gauge which condos to focus on for your client based off of which city that they're looking into, to be able to make your job and my job easier. Because if I have to do a full review right now, it takes a lot of time to do, because there's a lot of things that basically raise more questions, especially in the questionnaire. There's just so many things to fill out. And then if there's uncertainty on that, there's another question that's asked, more documentation that we need to get, so on and so forth. So the easiest thing is to be able to try to navigate through just specifically on that condo approved list, because your client is also making an investment, right? They're paying for that inspection report upfront. That inspection upfront, no matter what. They got to pay for the association documents. They have to pay for the condo questionnaire if that condo's not on the approved list. They're basically all in about $1,000 from the beginning with everything. And if that condo comes back no good, they got to kind of restart, and it sucks for all parties involved. So I'll have that list. We already got through a few cities, the team and I'll probably have that list by the end of this week. I'll be working on it again a little bit more today. Now, just for you guys specifically, but I'm going to put it when I send the email. Just because it's on the approved list today does not mean that it's going to be on the approved list when you go under contract. Doesn't mean that something's going to come up or anything like that. Okay. It just means this is the best option that we have right now and the easiest route that we have. If that condo is not on the approved list, You can still send it to us. We'll look on Fannie Mae's website to see if it's on the unavailable list or if we just need to do the full financing. And as long as everybody knows that we got to go through the whole process of it, we're good to go. If it's on the unavailable list, it's an automatic no. It doesn't mean that you can't do a full review. It means you cannot do a review at all. No limited review, no 25% down, nothing. It means that it cannot be done conventional. It's considered non-warrantable, and that's when you need to get the special financing for it. So unavailable, it means absolutely not. The in-between where there is no review means that it's possible to be able to get the review done and pretty much bring in those documents. But just kind of a heads up for you guys, I'll have that for you. There's a lot of condos that are on the approved list, just specifically in Broward County, which is where we're starting, and then we'll make the list for Miami-Dade as well. But at least it gives you guys a blueprint when you guys are looking for condos. See, a condo I'm getting ready to list just lost their wind mid insurance. Yeah, that'll automatically put them on the unavailable list. Or basically not being non-warrantable essentially. So you would have to go through special financing on that condo, which sucks because you lower the buyer pool, the owners that are there, their units can actually decrease over time because people are not buying them because it's a lot harder to be able to get the financing for them. Can only do cash sometimes. Condos are going to go through a serious transition here. But there are condos on the approved list. I have one client under contract. Their condos on the approved list, and their purchase prices are like at $120,000, which means he's coming in at 3-5% down. And the only thing we need from them is their master insurance policy. So it also helps you kind of know if you don't need a budget for a condo and it's in $100,000 price point, it could be a good deal for you too. What community is that? Let me double check. I think it is Cypress Chase North.
Oh, then that sounds about right. It's probably a 1 bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah, but you only need the master insurance policy for it. That's it.
It's actually a 2-bedroom. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I'm double checking now. Let's see. Yeah, Cypress Chase North, #1 condo. So there's going to be good condos that you're going to find at low purchase prices on that list too, as you guys kind of sift through it. So I'm going to try to get that to you ASAP. And then we'll try to do the tax meeting because I definitely want to get it done, or the tax presentation. I want to get it done before February for you guys. So we'll shoot for next week. I just have to set a reminder for myself to be able to get a presentation together for you guys. MMM taxes, and then that way I'll work on that. So the next week we can talk about what to look out for on your client's tax returns, if they're 1099 or self-employed, or have other properties that they own, because that's another thing too that gets people caught up, is they don't file their taxes correctly on their Schedule E's, and then we're hitting for negative income on a property that we know they make income on, or they just don't file it at all, which is also just as bad, because then we have to hit for the full liability of that unit or that property that they own, even though we know that they have a lease in place. But if it's not on the tax returns, they're not going to use that income. They like to see, Uncle Sam likes his money. So there's a way to do those properties where you don't pay any taxes on it, which I'll show you guys. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any scenarios we want to run by? The interest program. Hey, Destiana, which program?
Good morning. The new program that's supposed to be coming out. I think you said
yes. Good. Oh, actually, it's already out. So
Okay.
We have a community lending program here at Highlands, where based off of the address of the property, the client is getting below market rates. Like it's honestly astonishing the kind of rates that they get. So let me see if I can, before we go, I want to get you guys an example here. See if I share my screen. Market is open, so we'll see live rates. Let me go to this. Okay, so we'll do purchase price of, let's say 200. It's 95%, so 190 loan amount. And I'll share my screen as we kind of go through the exercise here.